this is the north that we're going to look at. And again, we're going to focus on Tel al-Hawa because Tel al-Hawa is still being invaded from the Netzarim corridor. This has been going on now for 3 weeks. If we look at number 15 here, tomorrow we have 𝐄𝐥𝐞 𝐄𝐿 using Gaza-made hand grenades, the MK2, which is the known as the pineapple. It's a copy of a famous grenade, but these are built by Qassam and built by 𝐄𝐥𝐞 𝐄𝐿, built in the Gaza Strip. This program of building these hand grenades is something that goes back to the beginning of the arming. Hand grenades and rockets were the two founding weapon systems that Adnan al-Ghul believed that, and Salah Shahada believed, could get into the hands of all of their fighters and make their fighters, if their fighters have weapons, they're fighters. If you have thousands of fighters that don't have weapons, then they're not fighters. So the more weapons you can get, the more fighters you have, and that's the principle of the resistance. And you can see it here. It's a booby trap. He's setting it up as a booby trap in a house, and in Tel al-Hawa, in a booby trap building, and it's a successful operation according to the videos. But the Israelis, again, no casualties claimed. But you can see them exiting their tank here, going into the building, and it gets detonated on them. So again, Gaza-built weapons being used by Gaza's fighters. We can go to number 16 now tomorrow. We're going to spend some time on this one too, because this is a remarkable operation. This is the al-Bara ambush. This is a 5-stage ambush in Tel al-Hawa. So they're going to, first of all, we see tactical deployment of drones again, spotting the route, predicting the route that the Israelis will take once they're hit. And you can see they're marking it. The operation will begin with a thermobaric warhead you see in the upper left, and they're going to predict where the route here. And this is on the screen here. They're telling us that these fighters laid this ambush was laid in December, that you're seeing here. Now we're watching the fighters lay the wiring to the various devices. There's a radia, there's a shawaz, there's the shawaz you can see. There's also a barrel bomb in the road, and there's 2 anti-personnel devices. So it begins with the TBG, the thermobaric warhead. The fighters are going to here move between the buildings, mouse holing, without going outside. The Israelis decide to have a big curtain hanging out of a building that has no other curtains, and it gets hit. And once they get hit, they panic, they call reinforcements, and here come the reinforcements. They're going to walk right into the shawaz that we see, the explosively formed penetrator. They're going to exit their vehicle. Again, command and control, watching on closed circuit TVs. These guys have been in these positions for 8 months, as predicted by the commanders and the forces. The Israelis arrive exactly where they're expected to arrive, and they're going to be right now in the kill zone of a Yasin 105 strike that you're going to see here that follows up the shawaz and the shock device that was set. So they're predicting the exact movements of the forces and having their 5 parts of this. Their 3 fighters have Yasin 105s for this. And you can see the commanders talking to each other and talking on a closed line to the other combat nodes. And the Yasin's going to come in here from the side. Oh, actually, that's the anti-personnel coming in from the side. So the fighters are seeing it, and then this is going to be, you can see in the background there, that's the soldiers exiting the vehicle. And then they're getting hit by a second anti-personnel round. Then they're going to get hit by a Yasin 105. Here he is, in exactly like the commander said, that they would go to protect those spots. And you can see the road. You can't drive everywhere. The routes are restricted because of Israeli destruction. And then they're going to abandon their vehicles here and run to the mosque that they believe is the safe house, the al-Bara mosque. And that is also hit with an anti-personnel IED. So just a remarkable operation. The fighters were in position for 8 months in their combat positions. Also, great video. The videos are the video editing improvements are remarkable to see. But just there's a couple things to say about being in your position for 8 months. That's showing you that this is not a guerrilla force. They're not running around Gaza harassing the Israelis with whatever fighters are available. The fighters are like a proper military in their positions. They don't run around from one spot to the next. They fight in their own battalions. They're merging, in some cases, battalions in areas where a fight, like in Jabalia, we saw the merging of a couple of battalions to fight. But they're not running all over Gaza harassing the army. They're waiting in their positions to defend the area in the way they know how to. And they set up these operations to so much detail that it's a whole page of things to write to try to tell you about how many things are going on and what it means. Like, look at the destruction of these buildings. It serves absolutely no purpose. You can see the Israelis still dangling out windows, getting hit by thermobaric warheads. And then the lines on that map are predictive by the Qassam forces. They're saying they know this is the route they're going to take, partly because other routes are closed, but mostly because they have intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance on these. They have closed lines communicating with spotters in various spots in the field who are watching. That's why we get multiple views of the medevac helicopters. If you're ever wondering why we see that, we see multiple views of the medevac helicopters because Qassam has spotters throughout the city. And so those spotters are taking imaging of the helicopters flying away. So that's another indication that you have communication on this closed line between all of the fighters. Still, 11 months on, in a place like Tel Hawa that's been virtually wiped out, they still have the capacity to carry out these operations in the same way that they were doing it originally, like right from the first day. And that was something that's important for Qassam when they picked the date of this attack, was to have their forces be ready for the Battle of Al-Aqsa Flood, that not to be fighting for 7 months and then be helpless. Fighting, defending your community for 11 months, using all different types of weapons, some that are built before, some that are built during, and fighters that are returning to their bases safely after carrying out that operation. You can see the Yasin strike from that second camera is a perfect strike. Again, no active protection system. And predicting where the Israeli forces will retreat to. And they retreat to the mosque and get hit again in that mosque. So the al-Bara ambush by the Tel Hawa crew, just really well done. Okay, number 17, this is the last one here. It's the 𝐓𝐡𝐞 drone seizure. So drones have been... drones are the thing that have changed in this war. Deploying these tactical drones that the Israelis use to go inside buildings, they all carry them. This is the first time we've seen the DJI Avata. This is a drone that we've seen it in the air. We've seen it flying into houses. We've seen other drones have recorded it flying around, but that's the first one that we've seen. 𝐓𝐡𝐞's dropped it. And you can see that they're dropping this by spoofing, by jamming the signals and then spoofing and then landing them on their own. And that's something that the Israelis can't defeat, because here you're going to see footage, because it's an FPV drone, first person view. So you see those guys with the goggles, they're driving the drone. So this guy's, the footage on the drone that 𝐓𝐡𝐞's captured shows them using the drone in a house and in their base. And that's the number one thing that has changed about this war. And the peer-to-peer military conversations have talked about the way that they deploy these drones. These drones have 19 minutes of batteries, and they send them into the house to fly around, to look in the space, to case the joint. And the Palestinians have been bringing them down. They can't scramble. Palestinian drones are in the air because the Israelis can't jam the signals, because if they jam the signals, their own drones don't work. So that's why we're seeing footage from Qassam deploying drones. When people ask sometimes, like, how do they not get shot out? How are they not, is there no defense against these drones? And the main reason why is because Israel uses the same electromagnetic spectrum. So it harms their forces to bring down the drones. It means they can't use their drones, which are a crucial part of the way they fight and house to house, because as we know, they fight house to house by sending handcuffed teenagers in uniforms or sending in these drones. They're very risk averse, they're cowardly. Um, and that's why in many cases why the death toll in Gaza is so high, is because these fighters are fighting a cowardly war, where bombing is taking the place of military on military fight. So just wanted to bring that from Soraya al-Quds. It's interesting, we've seen lots of Qassam down drones. Soraya's downed a lot of drones too, but that's the first Avata that's been down. So and it's interesting to see that footage of the soldiers themselves flying it. We've seen that a few times before, but that is the resistance report for this week. That is from the Gaza Strip, from Gaza City, Tel El Hawa, from Khan Yunis, from Rafah. And the other factions were fighting as well. There's no time for all of the mortar operations and the rocket fire, rocket artillery, but all the factions are still in the fight. They're harassing on the Netzarim corridor. And like I said, 25 qualitative operations from the Rafah Brigade and 21 in 5 days by the Khan Yunis Brigade. So the resistance is as fierce as ever.